Are you a leader or change maker inside of your business, organization, or corporation? Are you looking for new, innovative ways to drive morale through the roof? Are you looking for fun and exciting icebreakers, team building exercises, and activities that will foster team growth, friendships, loyalty, and completely transform your organization from the inside out? Have you been searching for a fun and unique way to create change instead of the same old dry, boring leadership books and icebreakers that aren't actually working? Hi, I'm Erin Diehl, business improv edutainer, fail fluencer, and professional Zombie who is ready to help you improve it. My mission in life is to help you develop teams and leaders through play, improv, and experiential learning. In this podcast, we will deep dive into professional development, team building, effective communication, networking, presentation skills, leadership training, how to think more quickly on your feet, and everything in between. We have helped everyone from Fortune 500 companies to small mom and pop shops transform their business, their leadership, and their people through play. So grab your chicken hat. We are about to have some fun. Welcome to Improve It, the podcast. It's Erin here with another cheer, ready to get you started, my dear. I'm ready for this show. I got a mic and let's go. Oh, Improve It, family. I hope you're sitting down for this one. I hope you've got a pen, pencil. We're going to need some doodles for this episode. I want you to get out a notebook and doodle, an old-fashioned notebook. Do we still have those? I have one somewhere in a drawer. I'm going to tell you today's show is so good. It is jam-packed with tangibles for your team because we're talking about change fatigue framework, how we can battle and mitigate your ever-changing work environment and constant uncertainty. So let me just take you on an emotional journey, my dear Improve It family, of what we've all been through since March of 2020. Think about where you were. Maybe March 13th, March 8th, 2020, which is terrifying, is almost 2 years ago. And then think of all the things that have happened. This show is airing in November of 2021. We had COVID. We had stay-at-home orders. We had the murder of George Floyd. We had the vaccines coming into our orbit that we thought we were going to be cured and everything was going to work and the world would reopen. And then Delta variant came just before school started. We got booster shots. We have vaccine mandates. We heard about this great resignation. I'm tired. I'm tired. You're tired. Who needs a nap? Things have been a-changin'. I mean, one thing is constant in this world, and that is change. And it's actually a great thing because it's how we evolve. But the word itself scares us because it's uncertain. The word change, when I say it in a workshop, which by the way, we have an amazing workshop all about taking initiative and creative risks where we talk about change fatigue, and we've been doing this well before the pandemic. The word change is scary to a lot of people. Let me say this phrase out loud. Well, that's the way it's always been done. Did you just visualize a person in your brain when I said that? That's not how we do it. We do it this way. Oh, change. Change it verse. What's her name? I'm calling her a her. It could be a guy. It could be a they. Change it verse Chad. We'll go Chad. Okay. Change it verse Chad does not want you to change the way that things have been done. The things that I am looking at back on in my own life over 2020 to 2021 have been a crash course in change. I'm very, very comfortable with that word now, if I wasn't already. And I know that we've gone through so much change together as a nation, together as your organization, together as the team that you lead. So I want to use today's show to give you a framework for how you can mitigate this fatigue, how you can actually look at change as a positive word and a roadmap to do that. So before we get started, a couple of things. We have this amazing hybrid hype handout for you, which is all about how to get your team hybrid hyped. It reminds you of why you do what you do. It reminds your team of the why they do what they do. It gives you some tangible things that you can do to lead your team through these uncertain times. So check that out in the show notes. And then if you have a question or want to leave us any type of ideas for a future show, there's also a link in the show notes to this awesome recording device called SpeakPipe, where we can hear from you. We can understand what your challenges are, and then we can give you some solutions on this show. So check out both those things in the show notes. And I want to take you through this guide of change fatigue and the framework that I put together for you through the lens that change is a constant and it's a good word. We have a Taking Initiative and Creative Risks workshop that, like I said, we've been teaching about change since before it was cool. We've been teaching about this for a really long time. And it is absolutely one of my favorite workshops because it helps participants really see. First, we create a safe space. So let me just start by saying that we create a safe space. And then we also help participants see the way that they do things with a new set of eyes so that they're able to look at that with a risk mindset so that this word change becomes a better word in their mind. So I want to start off today's show just by laying all of those things out for you. We've got a PDF. I want to hear from you. Know that this is through the lens of our Taking Initiative and Creative Risks workshop. But today's show is created just for you. So this is actually a framework that doesn't exist in our workshop, but I'm giving it to you because it's actually the framework that I used to get myself and my team through 2020. There's been so many things that we had to change from 2020 to 2021. I mean, first of all, our entire offering load, from completely in person to completely virtual, changed it, all right? When the podcast that we originally titled Failed It wasn't working, changed it. You're now on the Improve It podcast. When things and activities weren't hitting the same way that they hit in person on Zoom, changed it. How about you, right? So let's say you're not getting the feedback from your leadership that you want. Change your approach. Let's say your team isn't as engaged in this hybrid workforce. Change it. So I want you to really think about the way that you look at change and think about it in a different way through this lens. So, I love a good acronym. If you're a longtime listener of this show, if you're a first-time listener, welcome. Acronyms are my friend. So I want to start off by giving you this acronym that is really a framework for you to think about change within your team and your own organization. And it's a very easy acronym. If you live in Chicago, which I used to live, you'll know this. If you don't, downtown Chicago is called The Loop. All right. And the acronym for this change fatigue framework is LOOP. LOOP. And if you've got a notepad near you or somewhere to take a little doodle, I want you to put the L on the page, draw an arrow to the right of that, and put the O. Draw an arrow from the O to another O. Connect that to the P, and then the P back to the L. So it's truly a circle with the L that connects to the O connects to the O connects to the P, and the P connects to the L. So it's a big loop. All right? Because this change fatigue framework is one constant loop. You're going to take this framework, you're going to do it over and over and over again anytime change occurs for whatever thing, idea, project, fundamental that needs changing, you're going to come back to the loop. All right. So let's start with the L. The L in the loop stands for line it up. Here's what I mean by line it up. So let's say a very specific thing is not working within your organization or within your team. Let's go even more specific than that. All right. Let's say hypothetically that your team is really struggling with the way that you're putting out content to the organization. All right. So you're in charge of talking about internal culture initiatives, and you're in charge of sharing a newsletter about that. I'm getting really hypothetical and specific. All right. So we need to change this because it's not working. No one is engaged. So what we're going to do is we're going to line it up, meaning the meeting that is going to happen to talk about the change that's going to come forward. So we're going to come up with obviously very obvious things, a date, a time, get the correct people in the room, get a location, whether it's in person or on Zoom. And then we're going to line up the agenda for this meeting. So we do something here at Improve It called our CEO Day. And this is actually a framework given to us by another organization. But the beginning part of that framework is all about dreaming. So what would the perfect content to the organization about culture look like? Dream that up. Use this yes and framework that we've talked about in so many different episodes to allow your team to brainstorm different ideas and really dream. Dream whatever it is that needs to be changed. Dream what the perfect things would look like for that dream. All right. So if we're talking about content that needs to go out to the organization about culture, what is that? Is it a newsletter with video that you're incorporating? Is it tangible blog posts with steps that they can take? Is it different ERG groups that can help with culture? What is it? What is that dream? Visualize what that perfect, yes, the way we want things to look at and change looks like. And then expect within that dream to think about the things that are going to have to happen for those dreams to take place. I heard a really great conversation earlier today with two of my favorites, Mel Robbins and Marie Forleo, where they talked about if you're manifesting, don't just manifest the outcome, but also visualize the tedious steps that you're going to have to take to get yourself to that point. So, if you're going to change the content, you're going to have to create video. Who's creating that video? Who's making the scripts? Think about yourself having to put extra hours on your calendar to create this video or rearranging your calendar because it's not glamorous, right? When we change things, there's grunt work involved. So make that a part of lining it up with your team, dream, and then talk about the tangible things within that dream that need to take place in order for it to happen. And then in that line it up meeting, I want you to think about and list your priorities for that task. Have a map for change to occur, right? But know that within that map, things can change, but know where you're going, line it up. For example, you're not going to take a road trip without looking at a roadmap first. You're not going to take a road trip without thinking about, okay, well, what do I need in order to make this road trip successful? Okay, I need snacks. I need a great playlist, or I need a podcast to listen to, and I need to make sure I have my GPS up, right? You're lining it up for whatever it is to occur that needs to be changed to take place. So in this lining it up, you come up with the exercises that you want in order for this change to take place. So dreaming, manifesting, and then setting priorities. What are the actual tangible tasks that need to happen? The way my team does it is we break down the priorities month by month. So if we know that we want to change this very specific project and how we communicate, let's say it's going to be a 2-month project, we would say, okay, starting in December, here's all the tasks that need to take place. And then in January, here's all the tasks that need to take place. So we get this content out the way that we hope in February. Hypothetically, just coming up with ideas on the fly here. So Know that lining it up, the L of your LOOP acronym, is all about lining up the logistics and lining up the agenda so that when you get together, you are prioritizing and dreaming about what the change will look like when it happens. All right. We go to the O of the loop now. And that O, give me an O. O stands for outsource. All right. So now that you've listed all of the priorities for your team, delegate those priorities. Delegate internally. Decide if you need to use outside resources to delegate it all. And then once you have, again, you're adding to this roadmap of part of the loop of change fatigue, you're adding to this roadmap, who's doing what, you're delegating, but you also need to be prepared when in this to outsource the unexpected when the unexpected happens. So I know every single one of you listening right now had some sort of change go down in 2020, 2021. And I'm sure you had to outsource and reprioritize. Put that as something at the very top of your brain that will always have to happen. We have our roadmap. Things can change. Things can shift. But be prepared that when the unexpected happens, this may shift. All right. So you've got your L, which is line it up. You've got your O, which is outsource. So you've lined up all the details and the agenda. You've prioritized what needs to happen. You've outsourced and delegated to the proper person. The next O in loop is onward momentum. So what does this mean? Fail forward, and fail forward fast. This is why we had an entire podcast dedicated to failure prior to the Improve It show. Failure is an opportunity. All right. So when the world shut down and Improve It was a completely in-person business and we had nowhere to go, the only opportunity was to move it online. And out of that, we created 10 different virtual workshops. We created our offering Laugh Breaks, which is where we come to you on Zoom meetings and do short form improv over Zoom. And we can come to you within 48 hours. You can book us like an Uber. I mean, literally these could have been seen, or I guess what I'm trying to say is the world shutting down could have been an entire failure for Improve It. We could have just shut our doors. Instead, we saw it as an opportunity. And we saw it as an opportunity to fail forward fast and really figure out what does it mean to innovate through that failure. So I want you to think about this for you. What right now is a thing or project or fundamental within your team that needs to be changed? All right. I want you to think about it, and then I want you to line it up. I want you to figure out the logistics of when your team's going to meet. And then I want you to dream during that line it up about what that positive change would look like, and then set the priorities. I like to do it monthly, but you can do it however makes sense to you. Then get to the O, which is outsource or delegate, and then try. Right? So you've outsourced, you're trying the project, it's moving forward. There's some roadblocks, there's some bumps, there's some speed bumps, there's a flat tire, which just happened to me, by the way, on a very deserted road in the middle of nowhere, and a very kind stranger helped me change my spare. Yes, I should know how to change a spare. I digress. But that was very lucky. Okay, back to the show. What I'm trying to tell you is that failing is going to be a part of this journey no matter what. You should just expect it. So onward momentum as you're trying out new things, as you're having your team try out these things, as they've outsourced these projects, they're doing things that they've probably never done before. You're failing forward and fast. And then the P of the loop stands for perfect as needed, but do not expect perfection. So you've got that onward momentum. You're trying out things, seeing what sticks. Okay, this doesn't work. We need to reevaluate. We need to maybe go back to L, or maybe we just say, okay, this one specific thing in this project needs a tweak. Let's see if this works. And so we make these tiny little changes. We perfect as needed, but it is never, and let me just say this again, never going to be perfect. I want to stay on this P of our loop here, perfect as needed, for just a minute. I used to lead from this place of perfectionism, truly. I'm going to tell you this story about me, and then I want you to think about it in your terms, okay? And what I did was really micromanage, course correct, and I would do it in a way that was coming from a place of insecurity about my own self because I was the person who created Improve It. And so I thought that every single thing that went out had to be perfection. And it drove my team absolutely bonkers. So this notion of failing and failing forward fast has been something I've really leaned into, especially over the course of this pandemic. And we started to make failure a part of our culture. So we actually have an entire minisode, our very first minisode ever, with our amazing podcast manager, Rachel Oliveros. And we talk about failure parties and why creating these failure parties for your team are so important. So if you haven't, go back, listen to that episode. It's minisode 1. You can find it on anywhere you see our show. And really think about the way you're showing up as a leader. Are you expecting perfection, or are you allowing people to try, take a step back, evaluate, and then course correct? Because if it's leading from a place of perfection, I really want you to ask yourself why. Because when I took a step back and looked at my why of why I was doing this, not only to my team, to myself, I realized it was a fear. It was a fear of failure from other people's perspective, not my own. And when you really get down to it, no one really cares about what you're doing. They're so consumed in their day-to-day. So when you fail, it's actually you trying, and it's actually something that should be celebrated. Because when we lead from this place of celebrating failure, what we're saying to our team is, hey, you're a human being, not a robot. Go out there and try. And if it doesn't work, you know what? We can fix it along the way. Everything is figure outable, and we will find a way to make it better, but we're not going to expect perfection because perfection doesn't exist. Perfect to who? So if you think about today's show, what I just taught you, this loop, the L, the O, the O, the P. So line it up, outsource as needed, have onward momentum. So try, fail, try again, and then P, perfect as needed. You are really setting yourself up to expect change to happen. So then you're never tired. You're constantly saying, I have a framework. I have somewhere to go when this happens. And I'm just going to expect the unexpected. So when a huge change happens, I have to go back to L and I have to line it up. I have to then figure out how I'm going to get my team together. We're going to brainstorm and set priorities. We're going to delegate and outsource. We're going to fail forward fast. And then we're going to course correct and we're going to perfect as needed. But we're never going to expect perfection because perfection doesn't exist. So my Improve It family, oh my gosh. This is actually a great reminder for myself And I hope that you're taking away some tangibles today. I hope you take this loop framework, write it on a Post-it on your desk, and think about it. Even if a small change comes up in your day today or tomorrow or this week, try the loop. Try the loop. I want to remind you that you have to create a safe space on your team first in order for all of this to work. So your team has to feel psychologically safe in order for all these things to happen. And that's in our Taking Initiative and Creative Risks workshop. What we do first is we set everyone into a mindset of a safe space. We create it. And it's just as simple for you listening today, allowing the voices on your team to be heard. So going back to that L, lining it up, that's you are not the person saying, here's the change and here's how we're going to prioritize. The team is involved in that conversation. And the very beginning, lining it up, they are helping you set those priorities because you're listening. You're listening and they are providing feedback and they're giving ideas. So when the success happens and the change takes place and you've all gotten through this together, this ambiguity, oh my gosh, you're celebrating because you've done this collectively. So, oh my goodness, I am just so proud of you. I want to remind you, get your Hybrid Hype worksheet. Leave us a note on this SpeakPipe recording. I really love them. It's so fun to hear from you. So let us know if you have a question about today's show. Well, we can even use that question to create a future show for you. Take that download, use it, take this loop framework, use it, and let us know if we can ever help your team with taking initiative and creative risks. Improve It, family. I am so excited for you. Keep spreading laughter, levity, and positivity out there. Keep trying. Keep failing because the world needs that special it that only you, and I'm saying you can bring. I'll see you here next week. Hey friends, thanks for tuning in to Improve It. I am so happy you were along for the ride. If you enjoyed this show, head on over to iTunes to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Now, if you're really feeling today's show and you've improved it even just a little bit, please take a screenshot and tag me at Keeping It Real Deal on Instagram and share it in your stories. I'll see you next week, but I want to leave you with this thought. What did you improve today, and how will that help your future successful self? Think about it. I am rooting for you, and the world needs that special it that only you can bring. See you next time.